Hi there, Summoners. GuardianE here with another live reaction and first impression video for Fire Emblem Heroes. And tonight we are getting the reveal of the next Mythic Hero to drop into the game in just, I think, tomorrow, actually, if I'm not mistaken. So I think the trailer's a little bit on the later side here. We got it pulled up. We're going to watch it together raw for the first time, react to the reveals and all of the characters and their skills, and then take a closer look and review them in more detail after the first viewing. So let's get started. Oh, Jesus, that's loud. See who they've got lined up. I'm guessing it's the OC of Nidhoggr, if I had to. Oh, Heroes! Okay, so we're getting at least two, and there is the quieting dose, the serpent herself, Nidhoggr. So she is an armored red beast unit, as we can see here in the pink. Alright, taking on Celica, Enticing Dose, Sturdy Beast, Divine Toxin, Slick Fighter 4, and Attack Defense Twin Far Save. Alright, inflicts foes with penalties and sabotage, protects allies from effects that steal positive status effects. Alright. Okay, some formidable damage reduction. Despite Emblem Celica's best efforts, retaliating with the sturdy the tail coming down. That's pretty nice. I like that animation a lot. The savior effect coming into play here, and let's see, getting a ding. I like the sprite animations quite a bit in her beast form. Okay. This is a pretty long exhibition for her. Oh, okay. That's all she wrote. Oh, okay. All right. Quieting Heart. So it is going to be a double OC or Fire Emblem Heroes original characters. Laeradr. It's going to be. Oh, look at that. Quieting Branch. That sprite is some serious business. Armored Flow, Attack Res Fortune, Yggdrasil's Altar, and Barricade. It's a lot of... Okay, so Chaos and forces foes with low defense to take his and his allies' attacks. Creation Pulse, Quieting Branch. Alright. I mean, that's... Look at the roots and the branches. It's so cool. Oh, man. And that art... Pretty amazing. For both of the characters at that. It is interesting. I mean, they are trying to showcase these characters specifically against characters that are problematic in the current climate. You have Choose Your Legends characters, you have Emblem Heroes. Let's see. Oh, interesting. Okay, alright. So we got red and colorless on deck here as the focus colors. In particular, we got, let's see, Ninian, Shez, we got Alir here, Kvasir, we got Legendary Camilla, nice, we got Loki, Sothe, Amelia, alright, got Shez, okay, alright, focus appearance rate 8% of course, as usual, and banner will be starting tomorrow, effectively, on the 28th, on Thanksgiving, and then it's going to be continuing for 2 weeks. So we got ourselves a double Mythic Hero banner, so we're not going to have to wait for the big bad. Laeradr is going to be available alongside Nidhoggr, so they're both going to be debuting on this banner. So that immediately, obviously, increases the value of the banner as a whole. But let's go ahead and take a closer look at their kits. Laeradr in particular seems pretty unique in terms of the exhibition and the showcase that they had. Didn't get a chance to really digest much of the actual kit itself. So let's take a closer look here. So Nidhoggr, we've had her designed obviously in the game since the beginning of the book reveal. I do love the glowing serpents that she has, the dual-headed serpent that's kind of wrapped around her neck, almost like a boa. I really like her sort of tousled, disheveled high ponytail. I think it fits in well with her lush persona, right? and then obviously she's got that form-fitting bold outfit that's very revealing as far as her bodacious figure is concerned. Dark complexion, really appealing too. Again, I just really like her design as a whole. I think it works really well. It's relatively unique in the Fire Emblem universe and very, very attractive. So taking a look at what she's got here, so she is going to be an armored red beast unit. Enticing Dose is her weapon, 14 might, killer slaying effect. At start of turn and after unit acts, if Kanto triggers after the Kanto, inflicts attack defense -7 and sabotage on foes within 3 rows, 3 columns, centered on unit through their next actions. Okay. Alright. If unit is transformed or unit's HP is at least 25% at the start of combat, okay, easy conditions there. Deals damage to foe equal to 25% of foe's max HP as combat begins. Activates only when a unit can attack in combat. Only highest value applied, does not stack with other, deals X damage as combat begins effects. Effects that reduce damage during combat do not apply. Interesting, and cannot reduce below 1 HP. So they've tempered the as combat begins damage. It doesn't stack with other as combat begins damage effects, which is, that is consistent with her NPC version. Her NPC version also had that same effect, which is interesting. I don't know why they decided to necessarily limit Nidhoggr in this way in particular. Maybe there's more to it with the rest of her kit as far as that's concerned, or maybe just in terms of her HP in general. The concern is that it's already, overloaded. Not entirely sure, but it is interesting that it has that does not stack element to it. If unit is transformed or unit's HP is at least 25% at the start of combat, inflicts penalty on foes attack and defense equal to 6 plus 20% of unit's defense at the start of combat, reduces the percentage of, so it has damage reduction piercing, and then deals damage equal to 30% of foes max HP, and reduces damage from foes attacks by X during combat, excluding AoE specials, and also when foes attacks trigger foes special. Reduces damage from foes' attacks by an additional X, excluding AoE specials, where X is the total damage dealt to foe, max 20, min 10. Okay, so that's a mouthful. So a lot of this is scaling off of the HP levels, which is really interesting, and the max HP levels, which means that, of course, if they've already taken damage, it doesn't scale off of their current HP, it's their max HP, which is sizable. That is significant in both instances where it's scaling off of either her HP or her opponent's. When foes attack triggers foes special, you got damage reduction built in there and stacking damage reduction as well. That's based off of the damage that's dealt to the foe. So what that ultimately means is that it's going to kind of, the damage that's dealt to the enemy that scales off of their HP is also going to have be part of the calculation for the damage reduction, because it's that amount of damage that they've sustained, in addition to any other damage they've sustained, that's going to lend itself to the special damage reduction that she enjoys. At start of turn, if unit is adjacent, okay, so it's the beast transformation requirement, right? When unit transforms, grants attack +2, and unit can counterattack regardless of foe's range. Okay, so she gets distant counter built in upon transformation, then a +2 attack, which is whatever. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot. It's a supercharged, super tuned version of her NPC weapon. Really powerful elements in there. You've got damage reduction. You've got scaling off of her defense stat, or at least a condition off of her defense stat to inflict penalties on the opponent. Super easy conditions where she just has to either be transformed or have at least 25% HP, which shouldn't be a huge problem for her. She is going to be, substantially tanky throughout this. And then she also has, before and after her actions, a debuff on the enemy in a wide range. 3 rows, 3 columns of herself. Attack and defense, that is going to negate the enemy's ability to deal a lot of damage. Also going to increase the damage that they're taking. So really potent on that front. In addition to, her being a save unit, it's gonna effectively be very cohesive with that part of her kit, right? Because if she's going to be establishing that debuff upon her action, on her turn, or on the enemy turn, that means that she's going to enjoy those debuffs when she's saving, right? So Sturdy Beast for the special, 3 cooldown, which means that with her weapon, it's going to be a 2 cooldown special with the special, the Killer Slaying effect. Boost damage by X% of unit's defense when special triggers. If transformed, X is 50, otherwise X equals 40. So we're going to assume in most cases it's going to be 50% of the defense of her, which is going to be substantial. If both the following conditions are met, reduces damage from foe's next attack by 40% during combat. Unit or foe's special is ready, or unit or foe's special triggered before or during this combat. And unit is transformed, or defense is greater than or equal to foe's defense -4. Once per combat, excludes AoE specials. Okay, so she needs both conditions met for that 40% damage reduction, which, of course, as we know, will stack with the fixed damage reduction that Enticing Dose, her weapon, gives her. And as we know, that combination, they work very well in tandem with each other to negate damage against the unit that has it, right? So the conditions, still pretty easy. I mean, transformed, she's going to be transformed pretty often. You're going to want her transformed. I'm sure one of the... we haven't looked at her entire kit, but there's probably an easy transformation built in somewhere. But even if not, you're going to want her transformed more or less, because that's also going to give her the distant counter as part of her weapon. Unit or foe's special is ready, or unit or foe's special triggered before or during this combat. Honestly, all that really means is that the damage reduction is kind of paired with the ability to proc her special. With the Killer Slaying effect, it's going to be a lot easier to proc with the 2 cooldown. And then we got Divine Toxin for the A slot here. So if unit can transform, transformation effects gain if unit is within 2 spaces of a beast or dragon ally, or if number of adjacent allies other than beast or dragon allies is less than or equal to 2 as a triggering condition. So we just talked about how she more than likely has an easier way to transform. Here we got it in her, baked into her her special A slot skill. So it's going to be a lot easier for her to transform in different team compositions, as you can see here. If defending an Ether raids at the start of the enemy turn 1, if conditions for transforming are met, unit transforms. So we're seeing that more and more often. The opening gambit of taking out the enemy beast unit before they have the ability to transform and gain all their effects. This obviously counters that in that she's going to be able to transform before you can get that hit in, right? At start of player phase or enemy phase grants dosage. Oh, dosage to unit and allies within 2 spaces of unit for 1 turn. So dosage is grants +5 to all stats to unit during combat and restores 10 HP to unit after combat. Oh, interesting. When a foe triggers, grants the bonus effect active on foe and neutralizes any bonus active on foe effects from skills such as Essence Drain on unit. With this status of active, prevents those effects on unit and other targets and neutralizes any bonus effects active on that foe. Does not neutralize the bonus effects applied at the same time. Oh, that is very, very interesting. So if unit transformed or if foe initiates combat, that's interesting. Okay, so again, this is predicated on her transforming, which I don't think is going to be very difficult for her. But even if she's not transformed and the enemy she's defending, she's enemy phasing, grants attack, defense, res +10 to unit, neutralizes foes' bonuses to attack and defense, grants special cooldown charge +1 to unit per attack, and neutralizes effects that inflict special cooldown charge -X on unit during combat. So, okay, so guard nullification, very, very strong, and then having effectively a breath effect built in as well. Again, it's going to help her proc her special. Again, she has a 2 cooldown special with her weapon and the Killer Slaying effect. So that does mean that with effectively every attack, she's going to get a charge for her special. Which, of course, is also going to help her get the damage reduction as part of the special, as one of the conditions is to have the special ready or proc during combat, right? We've got Slick Fighter 4 for the B slot. If foe initiates combat, or if unit's HP is at least 25% at the start of combat, inflicts attack -5 on foe, deals +X damage, where X is 20% of unit's defense, excluding AoE specials, reduces damage from foe's attacks by X, and unit makes a guaranteed follow-up attack and neutralizes penalties on unit during combat. I mean, that's a hell of a B-slot skill, hell of an armored B-slot skill there. The debuff to the enemy reduces the damage that they're going to deal, in addition to the true damage that she gets that scales off of her defense. Then she gets fixed damage reduction as well. So this is, again, damage reduction that cannot be reduced. It's fixed damage reduction that's going to pair well with the fixed damage reduction that's part of her weapon. as well as the percentage damage reduction that's part of her A slot, or her special. So again, there's just honestly, just stacking on the damage reduction, left, right, and center from all these different skills, and they are going to work in tandem with each other, which, again, was demonstrated through the showcase where Celica was doing, 11 damage when she was attacking into her. So, Unimix's guaranteed follow-up attack is an excellent element, although, of course, we have a lot of skills these days that neutralize that, but also neutralize penalties on unit during combat, too. I mean, that's definitely very, very helpful for her. For her C-slot, attack defense, twin far save. If foe with range of 2 initiates combat against any ally within 2 spaces of unit, trigger savior. And if foe's range is 2, grants attack defense plus 4 to unit during combat. Any reduced damage by X% effect that can be triggered only once per combat by unit's equipped special skill can be triggered up to twice per combat, and restore 7 HP to unit when unit deals damage to foe. So of course that's going to work in tandem with dosage, the after combat healing, and then she gets the special damage reduction extension, right? It actually goes and gets applied twice rather than just once, so that 40% damage reduction that she enjoys from her special is actually going to be 40% for 2 hits. Which again is going to stack with all of the other fixed damage reduction that she has. So she is going to be insanely tanky, just all, survivability through the roof. I'm going to have the guaranteed follow-up attack, the debuff to the enemy's attacks, which will further nullify their ability to do any damage to her. And then she's going to have additional effects that scale off of her defense, like damage effects that scale off of her defense to ensure that she's dealing a good bit of damage, in addition to her special proccing basically with every initiation from the enemy. So again, really, really powerful series of effects as we saw. So again, inflicts a foe penalties and sabotage, protects allies from effects that steal positive status effects with the dosage. So, I mean, she's going to be a real nightmare to initiate against. I mean, just really straight up. I mean, as evidenced here, we have Celica, who is an absolute bruiser powerhouse as far as damage capabilities, right? Proccing Warp Ragnarok with color advantage, and really just kind of tickling Nidhoggr's HP there, and then with the retaliation and the special. So, brutal hits. And here we have Laeradr, armored, colorless beast unit, going to be the father figure, of course. A sleek design that we've seen before, naturally. Very chiseled features, the striations in his muscle tone with very reminiscent of a tree, and so I think that it kind of works really well with his overall design, and the implication has that godly presence about him with the stature, the halo, the sort of robes with the tree emblem at his hip. Looks really nice. I think it's an attractive design. And here he is tanking this hit from Robin. So Quieting Branch has 14 might, killer slaying effect at start of combat if unit's HP is at least 25%. Inflicts defense res -7, panic, and sabotage on closest foes and any foes within 2 spaces of those foes through their next actions, and inflicts Assign Decoy and status preventing counterattacks on foes with the lowest defense with range of 1, and foes with the lowest defense with range of 2 among closest foes, and any foes within 2 spaces of those foes through their next actions. What? Wait, hold on. Okay, alright, okay. So here's where we start getting stupid. So he inflicts Assign Decoy and status as preventing counterattacks on basically any... It's within an AoE, so it's like within a range of... within 2 spaces of those inflicted within 2 spaces. So it's a pretty wide range, starting with the nearest foes, right? So amongst those, whoever has the lowest defense amongst melee units and whoever has the lowest defense among ranged units will have Assign Decoy and prevent counterattacks inflicted on them, which is very problematic. That is very crippling. So those are very powerful effects. Obviously, they can either be railed upon because they can't counterattack, or Assign Decoy effectively makes units... threats around them to have the savior effect and be able to counterattack. So yeah, that's a really potent ability. In addition to just the general debuffs of Sabotage, Panic, Defense Res -7, which of course works with Sabotage. Yeah, it's a pretty hefty amount of debuffs, and it's a pretty wide range of debuffs as well. The one saving grace is that it only affects one one ranged and one melee unit, are the most devastating parts of it. But even so, it's just the units closest, right? So the closest units of those two types would be the biggest threats, and they are going to be effectively crippled by this part of the weapon. At start of combat, if unit has at least 25% HP, inflicts penalty on foes attack and defense equal to 20% of unit's res at the start of combat, plus 6. Grant special cooldown count -2 to unit before foe's first attack. Really? Really? He gets a special cooldown pre-charge of 2? So he gets an insta-charge to Armored Flow every single time? That's real dumb. So he has a Killer Slaying effect, of course, which makes Armored Flow a 2 cooldown special. As combat begins, or as combat starts, he gets a pre-charge of 2. So even if he has a max cooldown, he gets Armored Flow immediately as you initiate against him. Before foe's first attack, reduces damage from foe's attacks by 20% of unit's res during combat, and also if foe's attack triggers foe's special, which it will, reduces damage from foe's attacks by 20% of unit's res during combat, and restores 7 HP to unit after combat. Okay, so that's just stacking on damage reduction of 20% of unit's res, and then an additional 20% of unit's res as well as health restoration. Before we even get into what the special does, at start of turn, if unit is adjacent to only okay, so Beast Transformation. If Beast does transform, grants attack +2, and unit can counterattack regardless of foe's range. Okay, so very similar to Nidhoggr. Yeah, I mean, that's a plethora of really debilitating effects already out of the gate just from his weapon alone. And Armored Flow for the special, of course, which is now a 2 cooldown special, which he will have every single time you initiate against him. Boost special damage by 40% of unit's res, which, as we know, is going to be a high stat for him because a lot of his scaling happens off of res from his weapon. If foe's range is 2 and unit or foe's special is ready or triggered before or during this combat, reduces damage from foe's next attack by 40%. So once again, just piling on the damage reduction. That is really kind of like the name of the game here, just left and right and center. Just damage reduction in all forms from all angles is going to make it very, very difficult to make a dent into either of these characters. Attack res Fortune for the A slot, if unit can transform. Okay, so once again, having that transformation flexibility, which is going to make it a lot easier for him to meet that condition. If defending an Ether Raids, right, okay, so he transforms at turn 1. If unit transformed or a foe initiates combat, grants attack res +8 to unit, and neutralizes foe's bonuses to attack and defense during combat, and restores 7 HP to unit after combat. Okay, so he enjoys health restoration, which is, of course, going to stack with the health restoration as part of his weapon. He's going to have the stat boost to attack and res, as well as the neutralization of bonuses. Very, very nice. Yggdrasil's Altar for the B slot, his own unique B slot skill. At start of player phase or enemy phase, inflicts attack defense -7 and discord on foes that are within 2 spaces of another foe through their next actions. That is, frankly, very, very difficult for the enemy to avoid. Being within 2 spaces of another foe, so effectively within 2 spaces of an ally, that does mean that in either phase, they're going to be hit with that attack defense -7 and discord. That is very, very strong. Inflicts penalty on foes' attack and defense during combat equal to the number of foes on the map with the discord effect active, including target, ×3 +5, max 14. Deals damage equal to 20% of unit's res. That's just an additional effect. Fixed damage scaling off of his res. Why not? And unit makes a guaranteed follow-up attack during combat, and also when special triggers, neutralizes foes. Okay, so that's damage reduction piercing when his special triggers. So that's nice for him. Gets a nice little fat damage reduction piercing as part of his B slot skill. And in addition, that true damage built in just for attacking in general. And then in addition to that, the whole discord effect, which is going to make waves across the enemy forces, because most enemies are going to have, like, even if your target enemy is not within 2 spaces of an ally, more likely than not, a lot of the other components and pieces of the team are, right? So you're going to have discord on the battlefield. It's just a matter of how much. But maps aren't huge in Fire Emblem Heroes, so by default, it is just going to be pretty easy to have discord on the enemy forces, on at least a couple of them, which means it's going to be pretty easy to have that, that penalty on the enemy as well. Even having just 2 enemies with Discord on them means that you're looking at 11, 11 stat penalty, which is honestly pretty close to the max as it is. So Barricade for the C slot, new C slot skill. Foes with range of 1 cannot warp into spaces within 3 spaces of unit. Now, foes with range of 2 cannot warp into spaces within 4 spaces of unit. Okay, at all. Grants defense res +4 to allies within 3 spaces of unit and neutralizes their penalties to defense res during their combat. That's very nice from a support perspective. If unit is within 3 spaces of an ally, grants defense res +4 to unit and neutralizes units penalties to defense res during combat. Okay, so I do like that they're giving us sort of an answer or a at least somewhat of a counter to warp effects in general. It feels a little bit like they're selling us the antidote after poisoning us because the poison that is Emblem Celica and Warp Ragnarok, I think is a toxicity that cannot be understated, and so we've been poisoned with that, and so this is them selling us an antidote. So again, that just kind of solidifies him as this structural edifice that cannot be torn down, this tree that cannot be cut, sows chaos and forces foes with low defense to take his and his allies' attacks. Right, they can't counterattack, which is debilitating. Halts enemies from staging surprise attacks. So warping, no sir, cannot warp against him. Within a pretty good range around him too. So that is significant. So we got the flare proccing, quieting branch, and he is going to take that hit. Got hush spectrum going on. You got the flare proccing once again. How much can we proc in this battle? And then surviving with the 1 HP. I do like his sprite work with the roots kind of sticking out and like stabbing. It's kind of cool. I like that. And then you got the save effect, of course, from Not, who would not normally have a save effect on her, right? Being able to counterattack right there, as you can see. So Nidhoggr is going to be a red unit, so she is going to be joined by Kvasir as well as Shez. So that's certainly a great pairing. I mean, it's a very stacked color with a lot of value pumped in there for sure. So Laeradr also keeping some pretty darn good company. Loki is amazing. Rearmed Soth, also very, very strong, has that Bane special at his disposal. Of course, you can inherit that alongside his weapon and still keep him in your barracks, so that is definitely a high value there. So both of those colors looking quite strong, and I would say pretty on key with each other as far as overall value is concerned. On blue, we've got Shez, we've got Amelia, and we have Myr. So again, that's a pretty powerful stacked banner in and of itself as well. On blue, we have Shez, we have Amelia, and we have Myr. That's honestly a pretty powerful color as well. I mean, Amelia is ascended, so technically not limited in any way. Obviously, she's still quite powerful, but that being said, it's not as though you can't get her from the regular pool. So that is a detraction. I mean, I think from when you're just comparing apples to apples here in terms of the color compositions on the banner. And then on green, we've got Legendary Camilla alongside Ninian and Alir. Alir and Camilla are always together. Like on every single appearance, they're always on the same banner together. And then Ninian. I mean, Ninian's been around for a while, but at the same time, as a support, honestly, she runs with the best of them, to be quite frank. She's still amazing. So green is honestly really, really strong, I would argue. I think green is way up there too, alongside red and colorless. Maybe just a little bit under, but not by a whole heck of a lot. So yeah, I mean, again, it's a high value banner. I mean, there's a lot to like. A lot. If you're missing 2 or more of any of the units on a particular color, then technically it's worth summoning on that color if you're going to go on the banner. And the other thing is there's no Emblem Heroes on this banner either. So I just want to say in general that with the introduction of Emblem Heroes, it has, I feel like, changed the landscape a bit in where if it's not, there's Emblem Heroes like all the way up at the top, like way up at the top, and then everything else falls way, way under in terms of value. I guess I would just say to bear that in mind. If Emblem Heroes are just head and shoulders above everything else in the game, but that's not to say that there isn't other value here. Just that, you know, if you're missing any Emblem Heroes, you know, they may show up in a future Mythic or Legendary Hero banner in the near future, that it has just sort of warped the perspective of value as a whole just a little bit. Now, another thing I will just note is that we will be getting Christmas units revealed while this banner's out. So this banner is out until the 15th. We should get the reveal of the Christmas units for this year. Historically, the Christmas units for the past couple of years have been pretty busted, and also the Christmas banner itself has always had a spark for everybody. I think up to 4 sparks, really, for everybody, even without a FEH pass. So there's kind of a lot of value oftentimes with the Christmas banners too, depending on what gets revealed. So it might be worth waiting, I mean, just to see what shows up on the Christmas banner before you go in on this banner as well. So just bear that in mind, you know, that you're keeping your options open. For me personally, I would like to get Nidhoggr, so she would be my target going in on this banner. I don't know if I'm willing to take the plunge just yet. I might end up waiting to see who gets revealed in December for the Christmas banner before I take that plunge. But let me know down below if you're excited for this banner, if you're excited for these characters, if you're going to be summoning for them out of the gate. Best of luck to you, of course, if you do. Certainly let me know who your targets are going to be. Let me know what you think about their kits, their art, and everything else, and if you're excited for them. Hopefully you all enjoyed the video. If you did, please consider leaving a like, commenting down below, and subscribing to the channel for more Fire Emblem Heroes content. And we thank you all so much for watching, and until next time, let's protect those skies.